fans were getting impatient. Just under 4 years later, Liverpool on the verge of winning their first league title since 1990.
The deal is done. It's been confirmed that Liverpool Football Club have been bought by New England Sports Ventures, owners of the Boston Red Sox.
What's happened? I don't think there's anyone in the squad that's been happy. There's been a decline.
Here he comes, bottom corner again. Steven Gerrard scores. Their title challenge is well and truly on.
First night at Anfield, and Mr. Gerrard comes in, has a hat trick as a substitute. That's incredible.
Oh, I'm very optimistic about it. I have my doubts because, again, the Americans and we're off the past record, last Americans. But yeah, I think it'll be a good thing.
We're going to have to work very hard. There's a lot of work to be done to get this club to where it needs to be. It's not going to be easy. We've got real challenges.
I think we've shown throughout this last year that mentality and focus in the team. And we don't get down easy now. You know, maybe at the beginning of my time here, they may have crumbled under a little bit of pressure. I think we now embrace it and we see it as part of the game.
Shot from Coutinho! 3-2 Liverpool! Anfield goes crazy as Liverpool take the lead again, and it's Philippe Coutinho. What a lovely finish. Liverpool lead 3-2.
Well, John Henry will have to be up nice and early on Sunday morning to watch his Liverpool team take a potential step towards the Premier League title. They face Norwich at 11 hours GMT, 6 a.m. here in Boston. His Red Sox Major League Baseball team are currently playing a 4-game run against the Baltimore Orioles, and I saw them lose on Friday night. Marco, what is John W. Henry's relationship like with the city of Boston?
Well, it's classic one.
Never been there before. I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, this is the best seat in the house. So we were in his private box, just overlooking home plate. And you could just tell how proud he was of the work that he has done at Fenway Park. And whilst we were watching the baseball game, after the interview, we saw a couple of innings, and the conversation never really veered away from football, though. He's so passionate about both the clubs that he owns, the Boston Red Sox and Liverpool Football Club. And as you mentioned there, Marco, the role that the Red Sox have played in the 12 months since the Boston Marathon bombing. So I started by asking him what impact last year's events had had on the city.
It's certainly been a period in which the whole city came together. I think we have a much greater appreciation for our first responders. We had a fire recently where we lost a couple of firefighters, and it's over the last year we've been reminded time and again what these people who are so often in the background, what they mean to this community.
Now, 12 months ago, on that day of the marathon, the Boston Red Sox have been playing the Tampa Bay Rays here at Fenway Park. The fans were just leaving when the bombs exploded. Can you remember where you were and when you first heard about what happened?
Yes, I'm usually there, close to the finish line at a particular event every year. But last year I was asked to speak at the Hillsborough gathering, and so I happened to be in Liverpool. Tom Warner and I were having dinner when his daughter happened to be a couple hundred feet away when the bombs went off.
What have the Red Sox, what has sport, what has baseball been able to do for this city? I know there's a feeling that the club, you wanted to do all that you possibly could to help.
And the club was leaving town at the time the bombs went off. They were headed for the airport, and from the first game forward, there was a sense of what could we do from all of the players. You feel a sense of helplessness. There were in hindsight questions that were answered, but at that point, very few questions had been answered. So the team sort of coalesced, and the city really embraced, I think, the team from that day forward, as because baseball embraced throughout the land, in every baseball park in America. There were moments of silence. There were remembrances and concern for the city, and so everyone showed it. I think the city sort of rallied around the team as well.
And you talked there about where you were on that day, and quite poignant the fact that the 15th of April was the 1-year anniversary of the Boston Marathon bombings and the 25th anniversary of the Hillsborough Stadium disaster. Incredibly emotional time for those connected with Liverpool Football Club.
It's ironic that both clubs, both cities have these have the same date now together. On the night of the 15th, I watched the ESPN Hillsborough documentary, which was devastating. But these two cities are linked by these two tragedies.
And you've been, of course, in the past to the tribute service, for Hillsborough. Brendan Rodgers, the Liverpool manager, talks about how he's inspired every day walking through those Anfield gates and seeing the names there of the 96 and what that does, for him as manager of the club.
We wear the 96 on our kit, on the uniforms. We're aware and have been, the club has been aware of the importance of what these families went through for a quarter of a century. The horror of it, to lose the loved ones, and then the injustice that followed it was something that the club recognizes and feels.
John Farrell, the Boston Red Sox manager, I think talked after the marathon about the galvanizing effect that it had on the team. It was the year that they were to go on, of course, and win the World Series, and he was talking about what that can do for a group of players to have that bond together, to make them realise just how important they are to the region, to the area.
Well, there's no doubt about it. From that day forward, we played a strong brand of baseball, and again, you don't know what else you can do to help a community heal. In this case, these players all came together as one. It was the tightest, warmest, strongest clubhouse of the interpersonal relationships I've ever seen. Following a year in which it was just the opposite, and we were known for having a dysfunctional clubhouse, and so a lot of changes took place during the off season. As John Farrell said, there was a galvanizing effect upon the players after the tragedy.
You've been to Liverpool recently. Did you get that same sense there with the Hillsborough 25th anniversary? We saw the images of Steven Gerrard, the Liverpool captain, very emotional after the victory against Manchester City. Do you get the same kind of feeling there with that club?
It is. Over the last year and a half now, there's been a feeling of vindication in the air, but the 25th anniversary, I think, really brings it back full center to everyone, including the players.
And you would know with the victory that the Boston Red Sox had in the World Series just what that can do and what that would mean to the Liverpool fans to have that success in the Premier League.
Yeah, we don't like to talk about that. We're taking one match at a time.
Here at Fenway Park, where they had World Series success last year, of course, when you take a look around now, what you've achieved here during your time, how proud does that make you feel?
We've had a great deal of good fortune. I think the best fortune we've had is that Tom and Larry and I, the three principals who came here a dozen years ago, are not from Boston, and we've become part of the fabric of Boston. To have done this anywhere else, you could say the same thing about Liverpool. To win the Premier League, to be a part of that, we've been a part of something really incredibly special here, and we're beginning to feel like we're part of something really, really special over there.
You wouldn't have dared to dream, though, would you, at the start of the season, that it could be in this situation with 4 games to go and so close
dream,
to it?
that's a good word. That's the best word. We really had our sights set on top 4 finish because we're building, and it's a challenge over there. The way the league is structured, it's a challenge. So if we were fortunate enough to win this year, I'd say that we're a little ahead of schedule.
What has been the greatest challenge then for you in the time that you've owned Liverpool Football Club?
I think the greatest challenge for us has been the ignoring of financial fair play. It makes it very difficult to compete. But by the same token, there are a lot of clubs who can't compete at Liverpool's level. So I guess I shouldn't complain that vociferous.
How do you feel about the recent situation with financial fair play compared to some of your rivals, like the likes of Manchester City or a Paris Saint-Germain in Europe?
It's challenging. It makes it difficult. There are only 4 Champions League spots. There are 3 teams that seemingly have unlimited budgets, at least 2, and so challenging.
Could you see a title, meaning that Liverpool can catch up then and be at that level on a more consistent basis from now onwards?
Well, as I said, we're building, and we faced a similar challenge here. The Yankees had revenues far beyond what we could dream of when we arrived here, and we did everything we could to bridge that gap. We've never been able to bridge it, but I think going into New York this past weekend, we were, I think, 182 and 182 wins and 182 losses since we had arrived here. So we do go toe-to-toe. We've won 3 championships, and they've won 1 since we've been here. So I think it'll be difficult over there, but we wouldn't have taken on the challenge if we didn't think that we could have a go at it.
What did you feel was important in particular here at Fenway Park to redevelop here, where the history was?
That's exactly right. The history here is irreplaceable. Babe Ruth stood at this plate. Ty Cobb, Ted Williams was in the outfield. That just can't be replicated. It's the same at Anfield. You've had European nights there and historic days and nights that just could never be replicated. People come from all over the world. When Tom and I were in Warsaw at an ECA meeting, European Club Association meeting, we were told by a number of executives from other clubs that the best experience that they've ever had was at Anfield in football. So we're committed to doing what it takes to get Anfield to where it needs to be over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And it's challenging, just as this was challenging, but it's also rewarding, and we'll get it done. The stadium was never going to solve the problems that Liverpool is facing economically. I think financial fair play is a much bigger solution to problems that Liverpool and other clubs that are trying to compete. I think that's a much larger issue.
Do you feel you're on an even playing field when it comes to financial fair play compared to some of the other clubs with the amount of money that have had at their disposal in recent seasons?
Well, we really don't have financial fair play, or at least people aren't abiding by financial fair play. If UEFA does something about it and people have to comply, even then the rules are maybe somewhat suspect. So I'd love to think that UEFA will do and can do what needs to be done, but we'll see.
The thoughts of the Liverpool and Boston Red Sox owner, John W. Henry. Marco Owen is still with me in the Poorhouse Bar in Boston, and he was talking